Welcome to Confessing the Blues, a podcast about the blues music that matters to dancers. This is episode number 8 for March 2010. My name is Keith Big Papa Shapiro from Austin, Texas.
I am Jonathan Pecho from Dallas, Texas.
And we have a great show lined up for you here on this beautiful spring morning. And by beautiful spring morning here in Texas, I mean it's like 40 degrees here in Austin.
I have 3 inches
in Dallas.
Yep,
right?
3 inches of snow outside. Snowed all night.
So, you know.
What the hell?
First day of spring and we've got snow, which is a good reason to sing the blues. We're going to start off this month with a couple of corrections. I had some stuff to say and a credit for our track that we snuck in at the end. We've got some great new music as always. We are finally getting back to Kristen Buxton's question about blues instrumentals. We've got some really great feedback this month, including our first voicemail. And I know.
Yeah, including a rendition in a slightly different language, sort of.
Well, it was in English, just Google's version of English. Yes. And then we'll finish up with some up-tempo blues per our feedback. So keep in mind, if you have feedback, please feel free to send it in to info@confessingtheblues.com. Or if you're out in the car and want to give us a call, or if you're anywhere out at the bar, we'll take it. Give us a call on our voice line at 60-THE-BLUES. That's 608-432-5837. And I wanted to start off this show just giving a quick credit to a track that we put at the end of episode number 7. I got the track after we'd finished recording, so I wasn't able to talk about it during the show last time. But as you guys remember, we did have a Hanukkah blues track from Howlin' Wasserstrom, and he wrote back into me and said, "Well, Big Papa, as we move from one minor Jewish holiday to the next, Howlin' Wasserstrom again provides a little something for those of us who like blues and Jews. If it works for your podcast, it's okay by us to play as much of it as people can tolerate." So this was, the track was called Haman Was Rotten, Purim Blues. And Purim was February 28th, so I wanted to just sneak it in to make sure that you guys would have a chance to hear it. We have put a link to the YouTube track in the show notes. And Jonathan, this is where you apologize for not having show notes done.
I have no apologies. I have only guilt. I grew up Catholic enough to have an excess of guilt. So don't worry, it's there.
So yes, we know that we've been a little bit slacking on the show notes, and we'll get those taken care of as soon as possible. We'll hopefully get...
I blame 60-hour work weeks.
If any of you guys know of any other Jewish-themed blues, please let me know. I have an interest in it. And Purim is kind of like... Purim's a big excuse for Jews to go out and party. It's almost like the... in the way that we celebrate, it's almost like the St. Patrick's Day of the Jewish religion. So take from that what you will.
Saying nothing.
One other quick thing. Last month I mentioned that James P. Johnson had taught Jelly Roll Morton, and that was a mistake. It was Fats Waller that James P. Johnson had got his first gigs. So in case you'd forgotten who James P. Johnson was, here's a quick reminder. This track is called Yellow Dog Blues, and it's off of one of those Smithsonian albums called Classic Piano Blues. And if you missed those on eMusic, they're still a pretty good deal, but check out the track.
Ever since Miss Susie Johnson lost her Jockey Lee, there's been much excitement, more to be. You can hear her morning, night, and morn. Wonder where my easy rider's gone. Cablegrams come up.
All right, so with that being, well, newish music for all of us, and almost every version of Yellow Dog Blues is really fantastic. If you dig through eMusic, you'll find some really great versions. You'll find some very creative versions here and there, but
don't let him fool you. Jonathan just sent me a link to one of the most god-awful things I think I've ever heard. I think if you put a bunch of 8-year-olds playing instruments into a blender and turned it on, it would be a more pleasant sound than the link that Jonathan said.
It might. We won't make y'all listen to that unless you ask. So,
yeah, if you want to hear it, email us and we'll send you the misery.
We'll send you. Yep. But we'll launch into new music now that doesn't sound like that. First thing that we wanted to go over is an artist that I had heard of, but hadn't really taken the time to discover. And Keith had written off a ways back because he found tracks he didn't like.
Bad track. Then it just turned me off. Yeah.
Right. So this is Big May Bell. And anybody who knows me knows that when it comes to music, I love the large woman singing. I mean, Big Mama Thornton, yes, please. Aretha's gotten there, I think. I mean...
Wow.
Really? I mean, come on. It's true, right?
It's cold out right now. Maybe she's just bulking up for winter.
For years? Really? Was she bulking up for the day after tomorrow? I mean...
It's like they keep telling us that global warming will produce the next ice age. Maybe she bought into that.
Maybe. But back to what we're talking about. Big May Bell.
Big May Bell.
Yeah, Big May Bell, yeah. And we're back. Big May Bell toured with the International Sweethearts of Rhythm.
Did she really?
Yes, she did.
Oh.
Sang gospel. And then when she was in her teen, she was born in 1924. So she switched to R&B when she was a teenager. Sang ahead of Hot Lips Page, some other great artists. The album that I found is the complete OK recordings, which is where she signed in 1952. And the song we've got here is I've Got a Feeling.
Ooh.
So I'm actually curious, Jonathan, because this one is outside of your wheelhouse. Why you chose to pick something with a rhythm that, to me, I mean, it's really reminiscent of a lot of Ray Charles stuff, but has a very kind of like a Latin bossa nova almost feel to it. Well,
part of it was, the result of some conversations I'd had trying to pull all of the different elements that make up blues, including jump, including the tango sounds. You've pointed out that this sounds just really different. It kind of does. And yet I listen to this and it makes me feel like I can watch dancers move within that blues aesthetic and really just latch onto it. There's things that I see in my mind with this song. And don't get me wrong, this is very much an atypical song for Big May Bell. This one just for some reason jumped out at me. If you listen to the album that's on eMusic, there's some of the stuff in there is just downright saucy, just gritty blues. But then there's also a couple of tracks that are like this that are just something a little different, but it's powerful. That's what it was. Just strong.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's interesting that you mentioned that when you're listening, what you're seeing in your head are dancers moving, because I do the same sort of approach. And I think it's something that we've talked about on the show quite a bit, is that what kind of movement do you do to these songs? And that's kind of how we narrow in on the stuff that we specifically pick for this show. Mm-hmm. So we have a much, there's a lot of blues out there, but we have a very narrow focus because we're looking to evoke a certain kind of movement. And I think as our dancers become more savvy, we will start to widen the kind of music that we pick.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. My track is a track that I really love, and I play the Junior Wells version a lot. But I was clicking through, and if there are tracks that I really like, that kind of, if I see other people do them, that'll drive me to listen to that track and see what I think about it. And the track that I've picked is called Hoodoo Man, which is the same as the Hoodoo Man Blues. This track is by Ralph Willis. Take a listen to it, and then let me come back and tell you a little bit about Ralph.
Sometimes I wonder why the matter time. Seems like things have changed. Seems like the woman I loving some other man, cause I'll hold up my hand. I just want my gal to understand. Yeah, you know my gal don't love me no more. Somebody done the hoodoo man.
So I did some research, and there's not a huge amount of information on Ralph Willis. He went by the name Bama, which was because he was born in Alabama. He relocated in the 1930s to North Carolina, and he worked in the same circles as Blind Boy Fuller. So this is definitely what we would consider Piedmont blues. In the 40s, he went to New York City to record, but he still played predominantly country blues. He never did pick up the more urban sounds. In the 50s, he was backed by Sonny Terry and Brownie McGee. Those guys were everywhere.
Yep.
I mean, we talked about them. I don't know if it was last month or the month before. But
we keep talking about them.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Well, they're everywhere. And it's interesting because there's been a huge amount of their music that's been released recently that I hadn't seen at all. And now it's just everywhere, and you can't get away from those two guys. But there are easily a half dozen versions. The most common one, like I said, was the Junior Wells version that I like. But this one is also fantastic. And it's similar enough that you can play it and it doesn't freak people out. Oh my God, I'm listening to Delta Blues. I don't know what to do with it. No, I mean, really, because
wow,
like I said, that the country blues, especially as you get into the really spare stuff, is very challenging. It's challenging to listen to and it's challenging to dance to. And so this is more of it's the gateway song.
And that's not a bad analogy for it. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that kind of falls into that. I have the Junior Wells version of that song. I have a couple other versions I really like. All right. Next song we have here is by Billy and Dee Dee Pierce. These two performed from the early 20s through the 60s. They performed with Preservation Hall in their earlier years. They were in New Orleans forever, and they're awesome. This is Algiers Hoodoo Blues, sticking with the hoodoo/voodoo theme we got going on here. Check it out.
Well, tell me, Daddy, where did you stay last night? 'Cause your hand become dirty and your clothes they fit you right. Ah, you wanna do right, Daddy, baby.
Something I've noticed of late is that, especially at Lindy Hop events, and I've been to a couple more of those recently than I have blue stuff, is that there are, a dozen or 2 dozen dancers who have started to pick up instruments, whether it be like a ukulele or a, piano or trumpet or whatever. And they'll just get together and jam. And there was actually a session at Lone Star Championships where a couple of the musicians from the band and during the evening came out and jammed. They were trading songs with Jerry Warwick. And so Jerry would play a song and then the band would, it was John Doyle, Oliver Steck, I think, and Albany. I forget her last name off the top of my head, but they're Austin musicians, and they'd play a song and then Jerry would play a song. And this has that feeling of a group of musicians who had just gotten together at the end of the day and were just really laid back, having a couple of beers and just chilling out. And it's got a really laid back feeling to it. And it's that really late night kind of vibe. And I really dig it.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously a really slow laid back. Again, very much a counterpoint to the first song I picked. I mean, it's something where, you just want to you just kind of fall into the song and there's not really, you just kind of let it catch you and hold you up. It's like, I wish I had more information on these two. I'm in the business of I'm in the process of acquiring the more of their music and finding out about the musicians they played with. I'm pretty sure that on that song it's Billy Pierce on piano, Dee Dee's on vocals. No idea who's on horn. But I mean, great song. I love the sound. So
Well, there's that downside of us. I mean, and I know we've mentioned it that both Jonathan and I have been really slammed lately, and that's the downside of having to find most of our music online, is that we don't have access to liner notes, so we can't, research who's on the horn. And it could have been somebody just, obviously a great player, but somebody just...
It could have been Michael Lewis, because they played with him when they played with the early Preservation Hall performances. And a lot of their stuff, I mean, isn't going to be even recorded. I mean, Billy played for Bessie Smith in 1922. Right. We don't know. Those recordings aren't going to necessarily be... If there are recordings...
So those of you out there, if you're into the discography stuff and you have access to it, hey, let us know what's going on. All right, one more new track before we pass on to our next section, and wanted to go something, yeah.
Well, Keith, tell us now, what's in a name?
So let's start off with the name. The name of the group is the Manish Boys. I have to tell you, from the name, I wrote the group off immediately without doing any research, without checking into it, because I was like, oh, they're the Manish Boys. It's just a bar band. They've taken the name from, the Muddy song, and they're going to be, it's a bunch of white guys with day jobs, and they're not going to be any good.
So you say that, I was going to say, they are either the late middle-aged white guys with, long hair and leather jackets on the weekends and minivans and families during the week. Or they were going to be a bunch of college kids who are just being college kids. I
went and I was just clicking through eMusic because, I had tracks to burn. And I was like, all right, let me take a list. No, you know what it was? Is I clicked on it. The track list caught my eye. And I was really surprised because the track that caught my eye is the one I'm going to play. It's called Reconsider Baby. And, I play a different version normally, but I saw this one. I was like, all right, well, let me listen to it. And why don't you guys listen to it, and then we'll come back and let me finish up with them. So the track is Reconsider Baby, originally by Lowell Folsom, and these are the Manish Boys.
So long, oh, I hate to see you go. So long, baby, girl, I hate to see you go. And the ways I'm gonna miss you, I guess you'll never know. We've been together.
That, a very solid Chicago blues track, and I really like it. But the Manish Boys are one of the blues supergroups. They are a group of people of classic blues musicians who got together with up and coming blues musicians in order to make sure that the music was passed on to a new generation. This year is the 5-year anniversary of the Manish Boys and also of the Delta Groove music label, who got together specifically for the purpose of putting out the single Manish Boys album. The album Shake For Me, which is what this track comes off of, is their third album. So obviously it didn't work out so well, the single album plan.
Well,
and
success has that way of teasing more out of you.
Well, sure. And, Delta Groove has got more going on than just the Manish Boys now. But these guys have gotten such a strong reception that they're still around. They have a constantly evolving lineup of musicians, which is kind of awesome. And for this release, which, these guys are also internet savvy, the Shake For Me release is only available online.
Sweet.
Yeah, so that's kind of cool. And because they're only available online, they've got all the information about the artists on their website. So you can, check that out.
Well, that which will be in the show notes, which will be made soon. Really.
But for this one, and this is my Austin connection. I don't know. I feel like I play a lot of Texas artists on the show, just almost inadvertently. But they've picked up the rhythm section from the Fabulous Thunderbirds for this album.
Nice.
Yeah.
More approvals.
The Fabulous Thunderbirds are touring right now. Also, I'm pretty sure. So
cool.
Yeah. I know Kim Wilson is out there all over the place. Anyway, that's it for me for new music. Manish Boys. Don't judge a band by the cover and
or its name.
Anyway, moving on.
Moving on. We are done with new music for now, and we're going to move on to the next section so we can play more music.
Yes.
We got one of our pieces of feedback was from Kristen Buxton, and she asked us about blues instrumentals. Obviously, with blues instrumentals, there's a lot to cover with that. I mean, with all the different styles of music that blues encompasses, we wanted to kind of go over the idea. I mean, yes, vocals are very important in blues, and the vocals really, as much as they're fantastic for me, sometimes you'll be put into situations where the music and the instrument that's being, generally what you'll get in some of these songs, you'll have an instrument substituted for vocals. We'll give an example of that a little later. And that can be a little more powerful and give you a little more oomph in the song. And when Keith and I were discussing this, and we really wanted to kind of respond and say, okay, here's some of the things that we have about some of the instrumentals that get put out there. Here's a few different styles in which it can manifest itself.
Kind of adding on to that, in contrast to jazz, where you've got a lot of things going on all the time and a lot of almost purely instrumental music, most of the classic blues that we listen to is musically very simple. So if you're looking at country blues or early Chicago blues, a lot of your Howlin' Wolf stuff, or even your early Muddy Waters, is just a repeated hook, and then it's the vocals that make the song. So, for example, the track Manish Boy, which, is this.
Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother sang a bee, the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man.
So that song, which, by the way, was sampled on that Nas and Oludara track that we featured in episode 4. A song like this is an instrumental. If you just stripped all the vocals out, would bore you after about 30 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in a lot of cases, we don't really play a lot of instrumental blues because the vocals are what are making these very simple rhythmic and repeated hooks mean something. So if you don't have a strong lead instrument like a harp or a saxophone, if you just got a guitar, until you got into the 50s where the electric guitar became more common and you get something like your later Buddy Guy or B.B. King stuff where that guitar really has a very strong voice, you don't have a lot of instrumental tracks. So there are just a lot of vocal blues tracks out there to listen to. So anyway, let's talk about the instrumental stuff.
Let's talk about it.
Yep. So the first one we picked out is a track by Sammy Price, who is yet another connection to my 2010 Artist of the Year, Henry Red Allen, and also another Texas blues guy. So Sammy Price is a Texas blues and jazz man. His most well-known work was with the Texas Bluesicians, which I know. I mean, for us as dancers, I think we probably know more about Sammy Price from his jazz stuff than from his early blues stuff. Especially since those were Decca recordings.
Yeah, and I'm working on those. Some of those are starting to become available, and they're nom good.
Yeah, but a lot of the Decca stuff, it's just really hard to find.
Mm-hmm.
In his early years, he was a sideman for Sister Rosetta Tharpe and for Trixie Smith. And the track I want to play is called Harlem Parlor Blues, and this is off the Smithsonian stuff that we talked about last month. So check it out. So that was Sammy Price. That was a live cut, and that was off the Blues Routes, Heroes and Tricksters, Blues and Jazz Work Songs and Street Music album, which honestly, the title was why I just saw the title. I was like, I have to go buy this album.
Yeah, and Sammy Price did a lot of work through the 40s, I believe, including backing up an awful lot of really great vocalists.
Yep. All right. That was more of the piano blues style. I wanted to take my next track in the boogie woogie style. There's a lot of instrumental boogie. The piano is really because you have two hands and you can play more than one note at a time, as opposed to like a clarinet or a sax. The piano lets you do multiple voices at the same time, and accompany yourself. So you get a lot of really great boogie instrumentals, and we'll talk about kind of why we don't play a lot of those. But here's one by Memphis Slim, who needs no introduction. The track is called The Bells. I noticed, and we kind of were discussing this while the track was playing, but I have inadvertently picked 3 piano blues tracks to feature for you guys. And it's not that the only instrumental blues is piano based, but we wanted to focus on some music that you might not have already heard, because I mean, we could play you Duke Ellington for the next 2 hours and we would be fine with that. But that doesn't really buy you anything, because I think everyone's heard The Mooch and Black and Tan, and even the or like the Wynton Marsalis, like the New Orleans Bump.
Yeah,
the
Ellington composed music really dominates this, and I find it. I mean, I know I'm not sure Keith does as well, but I find it challenging to find instrumental music that isn't that,
or that doesn't end up being the more up tempo boogie stuff, right. Or really slow jazz that is not necessarily going to evoke the movement that I want to see. It doesn't tend to get as much into the ground as I want.
You can only play Gene Harris's Summertime so many times.
I heard from somebody that shortly after we did the show where I dogged on Gene Harris and Summertime for as a blues song, that our good friend Dr. Feelgood played it at Emerald City Blues Festival. So I just thought that was
nice of Steven to kick a square in the Jiznards.
Well, no, I mean it's for effect, you know. And the thing is that Steven understands when he plays that what he's trying to do, and he's not playing it just because he heard 14 other people play it and he thinks it's a popular song.
Right, and I don't knock on the song either, really. I mean, it's just, again, it's about context. We'll get back to that in a moment.
Speaking about context, more piano blues. This next track is by Eddie Boyd. And Eddie Boyd is somebody who I've kind of been getting into a lot more of over the last couple of weeks. And Eddie was born in Clarksdale, Mississippi, and moved to Memphis in 1936. He was part of the Dixie Rhythm Boys. So started off with a very country sound. But he was one of the people who was part of that great migration to Chicago in 1941. So he was one of the people who helped create that Chicago blues sound. Eddie toured with Buddy Guy's band in 1965 for the American Folk Blues Festival. And then he kind of stayed over in Europe for a while, because he toured with Fleetwood Mac. And we've talked about, you know, the American blues artists moving overseas to escape discrimination. And Eddie Boyd was one of those. First, he went to Belgium, and then he finally settled in Helsinki, Finland. And this is interesting because he's yet another one of the blues musicians who started in the South, who ended his blues career before he ended his musical career. And he did his last blues concert in 1984. And after that, he played only, that's right, gospel.
Yep. Everybody just played gospel.
That's right. Until he passed away at the age of 80. So fairly long lifespan for somebody playing blues. But I wonder how much of that you can trace to his moving to Europe instead of staying here in the States. And it's pure speculation. So I have no information one way or the other, but it's just a thought. Anyway, this track is called Eddie's Blues. It's off the Essential Blues Masters album. Check it out.
Eddie Boyd is a guy I don't really know a lot about personally. That is my kind of music right there. That's good stuff. I'm kind of glad that you Keith went through the ambiguous you out there in audience land. No, you Keith picked the piano sound. I wanted to cover a few different things.
What, Duke Ellington?
Besides, no, not Duke Ellington. But we'll kind of get there. We're going to start off with, or I'm going to start off with, a little something by Johnny Otis. Johnny Otis is the name you don't know for the guy that is more ridiculously involved with music than you really want to think about. I mean,
he's the guy behind the guy.
Actually,
he's just the guy.
I mean, he might be. I mean, over the course of his career, he played in his own band. He founded his own band in 1945. He played with several other swing orchestras up until then. His band played with Wynonie Harris, Charles Brown. His band hired Little Esther Phillips, a band called the Robins, which became the Coasters. Through the 40s, he discovered Big J McNeely. In the 50s, Etta James produced Big Mama Thornton's Hound Dog, which Elvis covered. Worked with Elvis, produced Elvis, worked with Elvis as a producer and songwriter. Played with Little Esther and Cleanhead Vincent. Willie and the Hand Jive is another song of his that you would know. His band did one of the older versions of Harlem Nocturne. And this guy was involved in music in so many ways. I mean, producer, songwriter, performer, band leader. Amazing. Can I read this album name out loud? Really?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so he had an album. This is a guy big enough to put out an album under the name Snatch and the Poontangs. Dirty music.
It says on the album cover for adults only. If that gives you any indication of the music. That was 1969. So yeah, Johnny Otis kind of had his finger on the pulse of everything popular music from like 1945 to 1970 something. He was a driving force in popular music.
I mean, it influenced everybody from the folks up to Zappa. I mean, Frank Zappa was, cites Johnny Otis as the reason for his facial hair being the way it is. I mean,
nice.
All over. So anyway, this is Slow Fuse by Johnny Otis. All right. Yes, Johnny Otis. And if you're asking, yes, that's Shuggy Otis's dad. Really talented, successful family. Switching gears a little bit. I mean, that was something a little funky, reasonably modern recording. We're going to take a step back and the big band era. We're going to play Jimmy Lunceford. You're probably pretty familiar with Jimmy Lunceford.
So if we can't beat you over the head with Duke Ellington, we'll get you with one of these guys. You'll get
some of it. I mean, but part of the reason I want to make sure we mention a guy like this is that, I mean, we have to realize that while Ellington is kind of our foundation in a lot of ways, and he was hugely prolific, but Jimmy Lunceford, I mean, another guy who died pretty young, at 45 years of age, in Oregon. During an autograph session of all things.
Seriously?
I mean, yeah. They had a cardiac arrest and died in the middle of an autograph session. And there was like allegations that he was poisoned and other stuff. I mean, there's some, craziness involved there. But Jimmy Lunceford's another guy who put out a lot of great big band music. We wanted to go ahead and play Uptown Blues for you. Go ahead and check this out. All right, yeah, that's the reason I picked that is I wanted you to hear that blues being infiltrated into big band as well. Jimmy Lunsford was a guy who was a little disdainful, let's say, of some of the wide appropriations of the jazz and big band sound that had really come up from African American artists, and he really did play some really fantastic blues too. So, moving on from there, from my perspective, if we're going to do something about blues instrumentals, we're going to mention something Dixieland. We're going to get down into New Orleans, except we're going to do it on another continent. We're going to talk about the Wolverines Jazz Band of Bern, playing another one of those fantastic standards, which I think we've played at least twice since, different versions of it since we started recording the podcasts. But there's no such thing as a bad version of this song unless you really try to find one that sucks. Like you can find bad versions of songs, but you have to work at it sometimes.
Just let it go. Just let it go.
Oh, come on, it's funny.
Just let it go.
Anyway, the Wolverines Jazz Band of Bern do some great hot jazz, but as with all hot jazz, it kind of meanders into that blues avenue and comes back. I mentioned earlier about taking an instrument and substituting it for the vocals in a song. That's what we have here. This is Careless Love by the Wolverines Jazz Band of Bern. Now, this album and this band is really a slice of something that we see, which is the European, frankly, love of American jazz, especially traditional jazz, because there are a ton of bands that for the last, 40 years have been preserving these traditional jazz songs and stylings. I mean, and eMusic has a bunch of them. I've found a lot of really random bands, varying quality, some really awesome, that do this. This band I found out from Tina Davis, because she's kind of awesome and has fantastic music and occasionally shares. But yeah, it's a wonderful version of that song.
One of the great things about having all of these European bands pick up on our traditional American styles is that when our American musicians decide to come back to it, they've got, some modern reference, and they're, still living musicians. And, the other thing is that, like we keep talking about, a lot of the American musicians, the jazz musicians, went overseas. So a lot of these guys are proteges of American musicians and learned from the people that we traditionally play. I don't know if that's the case with the Wolverines Jazz Band, but the album is Wolverines of Bern at 35. So I don't remember when this album came out. It's within the last, 10 years or so, but that's the 35th anniversary of the band.
Yeah. And it's really great top to bottom. A lot of fantastic music that I play.
Yep. And it's this kind of music that really is everything that I love about New Orleans and makes me want to be there kind of right now. And I think that's one of the reasons there are a lot of dancers who are migrating that direction these days, just because there is such a tradition of music, and because the music really draws you in, which is one of the reasons why we can't stop playing it.
Right. Yep. I can't. I grew up there. You're not going to stop me.
It's true.
So
Jonathan's biased.
Yep. Stop oppressing me.
Really? Okay. I promise, Jonathan, from now on, I will stop oppressing you and your love of New Orleans jazz.
Said the Jew to the Catholic.
Hey.
Wow. That introduced a new element of awkward into this podcast. Wow.
Only for you. All right. So
me and my Catholic guilt are going to go to the other room now.
Moving on. Lest you all think that I strictly play piano blues, I do have a track for you. It is a relatively recent track from the last couple of years. It is by an artist who is playing for blues dancers today. He played at Blue Shout 2009, and his name is Jerry Hunt. This track is called End of the Day Blues. It's Jerry Hunt on mandolin. So this goes back to my love of alternative blues instruments. We have permission from Jerry, who is quite awesome, to play the entire track. So here you go. End of the Day Blues by Jerry Hunt off the album Since Way Back.
I really dug that. I dig the mandolin with the piano. Just a lot of tension. That really worked for me.
And thank you, Jerry, for letting us play the track.
Yes, thank you, Jerry.
If you guys get a chance, go see Jerry Hunt. He is on the Blue Bella record label. He was touring with Nick Moss. I don't know what he's doing now, but if you search for Jerry Hunt, and we'll put a link in the show notes to his website, you can find out where he is. And yeah, like I said, fantastic musician and really stand-up guy. So I hope, Kristen, that that answers your question about some instrumental blues that you can play. And I hope that gives you kind of an idea of where you can go to look for more. And obviously, you know, The Mooch, Black and Tan, there are a couple of other really great Sidney Bechet and Duke Ellington and Louis Armstrong songs that, you know, you've probably already got albums for. You just, you know, put them aside for something else. So, yeah, let's roll on. Let's talk about some feedback. For those of you who recall from last month, we had a message from Kate Bramley Moore, who is in I think Gothenburg, Sweden, and she introduced us to the Cruel DJing. I have not gotten any comments about Cruel DJing yet, although please do give us a call if any one of you comes up with that. So Kate wrote back in after podcast number 7 and said, "Good podcast this month. I totally didn't even think too hard about it, but evidently my own English is different to the rest of the world. It was only when listening to American accents read out Wangle Davin Stone that I began to realize what I could possibly have said to your minds." And then she says, "Ha ha ha, wang," which, yeah, we're all in 4th grade.
Sorry.
But turns out the interwebs give me backup. I didn't make it up. It's a real word. And answers.com says wangle is to make, achieve, or get by contrivance. I'm not sure what Kate contrived to get Damon out to Sweden. Probably just a plane ticket. But I think it's
I'm
maybe
saying nothing.
Yeah. Kate goes on and says, I think it's maybe a bastardization of wrangle, which would be my thought. Any hoodle. Good podcast today. I'm looking forward to next month's Songs Without Lyrics. I particularly liked the discussion last month about songs that just aren't blues. I love Portishead, but not for dancing. Coincidentally, I love I Smell Trouble just as much, and it has the advantage of being something I can DJ at a blues dance. So thanks for listening, Kate. Hope that the instrumentals work out for you in Sweden, and I hope that you guys' event went well. Give us a line and let it know how the folks in Sweden are handling, the American version of blues, and let us know if it's picking up steam.
Yeah, and thanks very much for giving us that extra little nugget of thank you for wangling.
At least she was a good sport about it, and
Absolutely.
you got on my case about making fun of her, and I just thought it was funny.
I think it's hilarious. I think it's fantastic. It makes me happy.
Hey,
and
Kate,
it makes me happy that she responded too. That especially pleases me.
You have to send us a voice clip, Kate, so we can put you on the show, because we only have American accents and we don't really. I can't imagine how it would sound. So get a microphone and record something for us.
Fantastic. All right, our second little piece of feedback is from Manu Smith from
AKA
Jesse
Spuds.
Show. Spuds, right? And he decided to go ahead and send us our first voice clip that we can play for you all. So, Keith, why don't you conjure that up for us now?
Hey guys, what's up? This is Manu, AKA Spuds. The dancer guy, the producer of the Hey Mr. Jesse Show, blah blah blah. So first I want to say, great show so far. I've listened to every episode. This last episode sounds like the episode that you wanted to, I'm talking about I think it was the January show, where you guys ranted about not playing blues at a blues event. I think that's the show you guys wanted to do from the beginning. But I'm just saying, sounded like you ramped up to it. But I appreciate the honesty. Also appreciate the playing the blues. Elvis. Yeah, not that I'm a huge fan of Elvis, but you actually found a blues song that Elvis did, as opposed to, whatever else Elvis did. Question, do you guys have any James Brown or a favorite James Brown blues song? Because when he was back with the Furious Flames, he was tearing it up. Actually, I'm calling to ask you about blues music, blues dancing, because I don't blues dance. Well, I don't know what I do, but every time I go to a blues event, the tempo seems to stay around 100, 110, and it seems like if you break 120 BPM, you're kind of breaking a rule. Have you guys ever played a set that, you like kick it above 150 or something like that, but there's still blues songs? Have you ever done that and got, what was the reaction from the dance community? Or are they looking just to, get busy? I don't know. I'm a lay dude. Don't ask me. Great show, guys. Thanks.
All right. So thank you, Manu, for the message and everything you said. That would be really awesome.
And thank you and Jesse both for listening.
Yeah. That's also even more awesome. So we're gonna break this down into a few different things. One, when we got the voice message, we also got a transcription of the message from Google. Now, this wouldn't be remarkable, except that it's so glorious. This is what happens when you run a sentence or two through, like, if you remember Babelfish, I think it's still around. If you ran it through translating it through like 8 different languages in a row, and each time just came up with something different. It's kind of like playing telephone. That's kind of what we got out of this. I'll at least read parts of this, so you get an idea of what Google's giving us here. This is what I first read before I got to hear the message, so I had no idea what was going on. So, hey guys, what's up? This is Venue. It's me, so that the guys who produced of the things that show bye. But what I want to pay. Great show, The Apartment. Every other I'm hopeful, this laptop. So sounds like we have to, so that you wanted to talk about because the January show. If you guys granted if I'm not going to go to the best. I'm not going to do all of this because I can't. I can't bend my brain that far. Google warped my mind doing this. If I keep going, it's just more fragments and babble. So bad Google. Work on your technology.
I think that what we'll do is we'll actually post the Google translation in the show notes in case any of y'all want to see what technology has accomplished with Spuds.
Right. This is what I read the first time, and I messaged Keith back, and I'm like, "Who's Rachel, and why is she talking to us?" And Keith's like, "Wait, what?" and this became some kind of Laurel and Hardy routine from there.
Yep.
So, okay, thing one aside. Thing two, the James Brown song.
I mean, before we get there,
okay.
I want to briefly go back and talk about the January show. So, yeah, we did a little bit ramp up to it, but one of the reasons that I know that I started doing the show was because I was really frustrated with the music that I was hearing when I was out at dances. I would go out to a dance, and the only time I would hear music that really inspired me, God, this is going to sound egotistical. The only time I would hear music that inspired me was when I was playing, and the stuff that other people were playing wasn't working for what I wanted to do. I think some of it was due to a lack of art, but some of the rest of it was just a lack of knowledge of blues beyond a very surface layer. I mean, I actually had some people say, "Yeah, I don't like blues. I just don't like the sad bastard music." And 4 or 5 years ago, the blues that was getting played was, there's a lot of 70s and 80s. There's a lot of B.B. King. There was a lot of Buddy Guy. There was a lot of the really wailing guitar music that it really, it plays very emotionally, but it didn't have that rhythmic bottom end that we're looking for. And, in some ways the blues dance that was 2003 and 2004 is a lot like, and I'm going to use the word air quoted, is what the fusion stuff is today. An exploration of music that people want to dance to with the tools that they have, instead of necessarily going back and learning the dances that accompany that music traditionally. So 6 years ago, it was Lindy Hoppers looking for ways to dance to slow music. Today, it's blues dancers looking to dance, or tango dancers or whatever, looking to dance to, the Vitamin String Quartet, or those people who are covering Metallica, or, and you have all of these people who are looking to dance to music that they like to listen to. And so they're playing this, they'll call it experimental. I call it stuff we've already heard. And, it's just this kind of pandering to a perceived desire. So we're addressing that and saying, if you're looking for emotion, we've got the emotion in blues. We've also now got the education in blues so that you can dance to this in a way that's more authentic than just taking what you already know and trying to make it fit. At the same time, we have, as dance recreationists, and I'll get more into this a little bit later, a lot of us have picked a specific dance, whether it be Lindy Hop or blues or tango or West Coast swing or ballroom, and mostly Lindy Hop and blues. And we are very focused on learning this one kind of dance to the exclusion of all other kinds of dance. And so when you've only got a hammer, pretty soon everything starts to look like a nail.
And being relatively newer to blues than Keith and some of my other DJ type friends are, I have to take a little different approach to this. When I started as a DJ, DJing swing events, I really sucked. I was really horrific because I didn't understand some concepts about not just what the music was, but what dancing was. And as time has gone on, it's really come to me that when you listen to this music, the music should move you to that dancing. There's not a hard, fast rule on any of this. So, people can, there's definitely room for people to interpret what they're listening to and do things and move to it in their own way. But at the same time, I watch things, and my mind, which has kind of started to realize that, the music I was playing for swing dancers initially, looking back now, I recognize that didn't work for swing dancers, and I was trying to just, I was hammering square pegs into round holes, and I started to, go ahead and find the right music for that, and it's something I've kind of done, and I've taken that same approach with blues and doing that, and what I'm seeing here is that the holes aren't quite all uniform either. And it's something that one of the reasons that I wanted to work with Keith on this show was because I wanted to say that, but I wanted to make sure I said it and kept saying it with the music that I present to y'all. So that's just my point of view on it. Little bit different. I won't say this is what was the show we wanted to do, but when we talked about doing this podcast, that was one of the things we talked about wanting to do at some point and mention it, and if necessary, continue mentioning it.
All right, so Manu, you also asked about a favorite James Brown blues song. Now, I don't have a huge amount of James Brown that's outside the soul genre and, the soul going into funk. And I haven't, being predominantly like a swing and blues kind of guy or DJ, I haven't really explored that stuff. But I know that there is a lot of blues in the early James Brown. I did find one track that I have that really turns me on, and hopefully you'll dig it. Check it out. The track is called "Tell Me What I Did Wrong."
Walk right up to me, baby. Tell me what have I done wrong. Walk right up to me, baby. Tell me what have I done wrong. I want to know that you still love me, or have I been away too long? There is something about you, baby.
I really like it. It's got, definitely a lot of a very R&B feel, but I think it definitely still has what I'm looking for, in a blues track. Interestingly enough, I do have 2 more blues tunes by James Brown, and they're off an album I picked up in the dollar bin. And here's why. The name of the album is James Brown's Funky Christmas. And if you can walk by an album called James Brown's Funky Christmas and not pick it up for a dollar, there's something wrong with you. Like, I just for the novelty of it, I picked it up. Those 2 tracks will definitely fall more into the slow blues category than into the jump. Speaking of tempo, like the last question that Manu had was about blues tempos, and you got me pegged, dude. Like that, you're talking about me, because my average tempo at a blues, I went back and looked, is somewhere between, it's right around 100 beats a minute. And I'll be the first person to admit that for blues dance, I will not play a lot of up-tempo stuff outside of a competition. With blues, I tend to use different tools besides just tempo to drive energy in the room. And it's not like tempo is the only tool that even as a, someone playing swing music has. There's definitely
it depends on who you talk to.
Well, fair enough, but there's definitely another axis besides just tempo in terms of intensity.
Agreed.
I think is a good word.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I completely agree with that. That comment is a very derisive one. I find that people who strictly adhere to tempo as a means of skill and or anything else they would derive from it is just narrow. It's painfully narrow.
Well, I mean, we talk about during the show, we talk about songs that are laid back or songs that are drivers. And, part of the reason that the songs stay slower is an expectation on part of the dancers, which is not to say that people are coming out on the floor at the blues dance to make a baby. It's not just the blues dance where they're doing that. It's every partner dance. So let's be very, very clear. People partner dance to meet other people, to, hook up in whatever sense of the word you'd like to take that. It's not just blues. People were doing it at the Lindy Hop revival stuff before there was a blues room in the late night. People were dancing together at bars. People, this is nothing new. So let's take the people go to blues dance to baby make completely out of the equation. it's not blues only. It's salsa, it's rumba, it's bachata. I mean, Lord knows.
All of it.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
All
for
of it.
sure.
Tank, ballroom dances. Yeah. I mean,
sure. I mean,
it does
that
not
was
matter. If booty dancing at the club, I mean, all of it. Don't be limiting. Like everything is for that, basically that purpose.
Right. But I mean, you ask, if you ever played a set of blues music above 150 beats a minute and how people respond to it. Being glib, the answer is yes. And I play them to Lindy Hoppers and they loved it. But there's a good reason for that. So let's explore it. Let's explore it a little bit.
So yeah, Keith and I both kind of talked about this and like, why don't we do it? And when we talk about how much we play blues or blues derived music at swing events, I mean, I find myself doing it. But avoiding blues in a swing context is damn near impossible. I mean, you're down to playing Glenn Miller studio recordings and that's it. I mean, like there's just not that much out there that doesn't have at least some elements of it. That I mean, and I'm being a little. I'm exaggerating, but I mean the fact is that if you can play a 2-hour set without a good 2-hour set of music without touching on blues, you're either really good at this and really knowledgeable of your music, or you're just you're just trying to make a point. When we kind of broke down the different things, why don't we play it? And one of the first things that Keith and I kind of came to is that we are making an effort to kind of dissuade people from swinging out when they're at a blues dance or a blues event. And faster blues, all the way up the scale from, the kind of 150 beats a minute, boogie woogie tune up to, fast bassy tunes. I mean, evokes a swing out. That's a natural thing. And that's not even that's necessarily bad. But part of what we talked about is that as an offshoot of the Lindy Hop community, there's kind of a prevalence towards wanting to keep away from swinging out. That's just, it's an attitude a lot of people have. And
here's where that came from. And Spuds, you might remember this. There were it was 2007, I think, and it was the year of blues threads on the Yehudi board, and there was just thread after thread of 40 or 50 pages. So we're 200, 300 posts back and forth about people saying that blues dance was not actually a dance; it was just slow Lindy Hop, and it was not anything different. And it was, because of that, there was really an effort made to distance blues dancing, and especially faster blues, from from swinging out. And I remember that there was a YouTube video that was posted, and I can't find it, it was a blues festival in the 50s or 60s, and they panned out to the crowd and you could see people swinging out to, the blues music. What I did find while I was searching was something that Rayned posted, and it's a video from, I think it's Jamaica, and it has people doing swing and blues movements to the same song. And so unless it's like complete double time showboating, likely it's a faster song that they're listening to. There's no audio with the video. So to say that, you can't swing out to blues is an artificial dichotomy that we've made as a community to help show that there is legitimacy to blues dance because of some very vocal people that said, no, there's not, it's just the same thing. So at the same time, I feel like 90% of the dancers, and I'm not talking about people who travel a lot and people who are really into it, but 90% of the people who walk into the swing dance, and that's certainly true in Austin, 90% of them don't understand the differences in rhythm between a trad or Dixieland song, a swing era big band, a boogie woogie, a small combo from the 50s, a small combo from the 60s, R&B jump from the 40s and 50s, a blues shuffle. I feel like people don't really understand The difference, they just hear the beat and they go out and dance. And honestly, even if you do know this stuff, it can be really challenging to kind of decide what the appropriate dance to do is. So like,
I switch it up all the time. I'm bad about it.
Well, I mean, let's talk about Count Basie. I mean, this is Basie and Jimmy rushing. And what would you do to this?
Early one morning, about the crack of day. Early one morning, about the crack of day. Early one morning, my baby stole away. We gonna rock, we gonna roll the joint, we gonna rock, gonna roll the joint, we gonna rock, gonna roll the joint.
It's a 12-bar blues structure. It's a boogie woogie piano backing it, but at the same time, it's got in the bass, it's got a very swing rhythm. So do you swing out to it? Do you Charleston? Do you Balshag? Do you halftime blues? Do you do like something like steppin'? What is the appropriate movement for this? And I think honestly, all of them have some reasonable background. So by necessity, in order to make people not say, oh, you're just doing slow Lindy, or it's all just Lindy hop, which I think comes from that same, we only know one dance, we're recreationists thing, that we by necessity have stayed away from this kind of music at our blues events.
And it's true. I mean, and that's a part of it. Part of it's wanting again, it's a false dichotomy. It's wanting to kind of differentiate. And I'm waiting for the moment where these two communities, I mean, this sounds like a strange word, kind of reconcile and understand that they kind of hold hands. I know people around the Dallas-Fort Worth area who would rather die than acknowledge some of that. I mean, they would rather fall on their proverbial swords and say, no, I don't want to acknowledge that these music stylings have anything in common, and they want to be that recreationist, and they don't want to touch it. We keep talking about wanting to, create these different kinds of events. Like there's the fusion crowd, which has, they teach this a different style of things, and there's like we want to call the dance like a mixer, and Keith and I have made that distinction before. And really, at a certain point, isn't that kind of what we want? In a certain way, I mean, we really want to be able to make it so that people can do these different, to apply the different elements of dance to the music, if the music calls for it, if it makes sense, do it. Like I was talking with people, with a DJ, a local DJ here in Dallas. He was asking questions about teaching, and my response to him was, he's like, well, what should I teach? What should I do with this? And I'm like, look, whatever you teach, just make it clear that they dance to the music and not just put out a carbon copy dance that they just apply to things. Because the bottom line, for me, my perspective, that's what's important.
I think that's true pretty much universally, is the way that we look at musicality as a community. And I include both Lindy and blues for this, is that it's not that we're trying to hit and accent every drum beat in the music. And from what I've seen, the hip hop community tends to look at musicality a different way than we do. We look more at an overall style of movement than necessarily hitting every beat and making a shoulder pop, line up with a drum hit. So, that's for us. Speaking of instruction, we also don't have a huge amount of instruction on fast blues. And I say that not to make the comment that it doesn't exist, because just about every teaching couple that I'm aware of has a fast blues class, or they include faster blues in their classes. What we don't have is the saturation of instruction that Lindy Hop does. For example, in Austin, there are at least a dozen couples teaching Lindy Hop. And there are 2 I guess if you count me and my partner when we teach a once a month walk up intro class. So if you count that, there are 3 couples teaching blues. We don't have the saturation in series class to be able to focus on a faster blues. If you're getting fast blues at a workshop, you're getting 1 class because because what we're trying to do at these weekend workshops is expose people to a variety of styles, hoping that they'll find series classes which don't exist. So there are only a handful of places in the country where you can go and get a series class to get more depth on fast blues dancing. So without a coordinated amount of desire from the dancers, a coordinated amount of classes from our instructors, and a tie-in to that hits the DJs enough that we start to play this stuff, you're not going to, I think, start to see that a lot.
Yeah, it becomes a supply and demand question, and then it's way more thought that I'm ready to put into it, because we need more dancers to demand it for the DJs to supply it, but we don't know how to inject it in there, and My brain melts thinking about it. I need to go back to an economics class. Sorry.
Well, and if you're a dancer who likes to dance to faster music and you want to hear faster blues, come learn a little bit about it and make requests to your DJs. I guarantee you that if you're wanting to hear something and you are educated about your request and don't just come up and say, could you play some faster music? Your DJs will, as a whole, be much more responsive to someone who knows a song name or a song style or an artist than someone who says, play something fast. And so that's a way for, as a community, to influence DJs is to make their requests in an educated way. Speaking of these blues weekends, another reason we don't, as DJs, play a lot of fast blues music is the live music. Traditionally, I have found that bands at dances, Lindy Hop, blues, soul, swing, whatever, play extremes. They're either playing very fast or they're playing very slow. Finding a middle ground with a band is something that takes a lot of work. As someone who running an event, it takes a lot of work to build that understanding with the musicians. So by necessity, DJs are having to compensate, which means playing to the middle, which for blues is around 100 something beats a minute. For Lindy Hop is 150 to 180, depending on where you are.
Right. And I won't even limit this to live music. There's a lot of DJs who do the same thing. And it's just for a band, it's one thing. They play what they play. But with a DJ, if you can't figure out where the middle is as a DJ and you can't play to it, what are you doing? That's moment of frustration, and that's something that I don't think there's an excuse for it.
Well, lest this become another lecture on how to DJ, if you guys are interested in having Jonathan or I come out and have a discussion with your DJs, we'll be more than happy to. Just let us know.
DJ and combine it all. Jeez, we can do it all.
Yeah, and then the other thing is let's be honest, blues is a late night dance. And I'm hitting my 30s and I've got kids. My kids wake up at between 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock in the morning, regardless of when I go to bed. I'm not going to have the energy at 2:30 in the morning to swing out to Woodside. You are not going to see me do it. It's just not going to happen. So for me, I'm going to dance to something a little bit slower, just as it gets into the late night, as it gets, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, people get tired and you can't push for energy that's not there.
Mm-hmm. Right. And that's an honest truth. If blues dances ran from 7 to 10, Monday through Friday, this might be a little different. But it doesn't. That's why blues dances at Lindy events are in side rooms or the after hours, and they're not the featured event on the floor at any given time, because it's just kind of how it is. And this kind of meshes into the last thing. We kind of touched on this. In order to do it, we need, for faster music, there needs to be dancer interest in it. the ability of dancers to dance to it. I mean, that's like, I'm kind of the same way. But I mean, I've just been that way since I'm prematurely old when it comes to dancing. I don't know why. I'm in my early 30s, and I'm like, no, that's too much work. I'm just lazy, I think. But that's entirely dancer interest. I mean, I don't want to dance to some of the faster music, and that's personal preference as much as anything else. But some folks can't. Some folks don't want to. Okay, then. I mean, it's not like that's kind of the reason why I think why the venues are so dominated with the low tempo there. I think it's still a bit of an overreaction. I think some people are still kind of figuring out what both as dancers and as people putting music out there are figuring out what they want.
Yeah. So let's, instead of just talking about faster blues, let's actually play some faster blues for you guys in a couple of genres.
Do it.
Yep. Yeah. We too much talking. And, take a listen. And as you listen to the songs that we're playing here, first of all, these are good jumping off points for genres. Second, listen to the rhythm and try and imagine how you would dance to this song. And, if you don't know how you would dance to it, or you think that maybe a swing out is not the right thing, that's an indication that we need more education on how to handle this. If it doesn't occur to you to halftime this stuff, halftime is always okay. Anyway.
It is the eject button for songs sometimes. It's like, can't do it, eject, and you just kind of get into that halftime. And
well, I mean, and that's what Charleston is by and large a halftime dance to fast music. So let's play some country blues. There is a lot of fast country blues.
Yes.
There is a lot of fast country blues. It can be misleadingly fast, especially when it gets a little bit arrhythmic. This one is not arrhythmic. This one is called One Kind Favor. It's by Cephas and Wiggins. Check it out.
If one kind favor I ask of you, if one kind favor I ask of you, one kind favor I ask of you, see the Bible break and clean. Long train has no end. Long train has no end. Long train that has no end.
all right, yeah, and I'm a big fan of country blues, and I've got a lot of stuff that I kind of put out there for folks, and for me, the stuff that kind of throws me off is you listen to like Big Joe Williams, and you listen to him start, like, I've got a whole album. I swear it's a whole album. I think I mentioned it last month. Several songs just start off at that really slow tempo. By the end of the song, they're about that fast. And I'm like, okay, like now we're just messing with people. Because now it's like you're starting off at that mid-tempo, and then you're just getting up to that, and then great song. Not sure how it's necessarily appreciated on a dance floor sometimes. We wanted to jump back into boogie. Once again, we're going to come back with some more Memphis Slim, because we both really love Memphis Slim. So
True.
This is a 3-in-1 boogie. I love Memphis Slim. I love that song. It's really versatile. I can see people doing a lot of different stuff to that song. And there's a thing about it that makes me cringe. And it's the reactions of certain dancers who say, I hate boogie woogie. And I say, what are you talking about? Please explain. And they say something like, oh, I don't know. I just hate it. So the reality is I have no idea what they're talking about. They're talking about something that I don't know if they just did anything with the word boogie woogie in the title. And in the name, I mean, who do you hate? What do you dislike? I mean, that's foible ranted about. That's it. It's just, it drives me nuts. That is a song where I can see people doing a swing out to that, making it look awesome. I could see just a lot of, but it's rich blues music. It's good stuff.
And that's it. Like I said, think about how you would dance to the track as you're listening to it. Let's talk about jump blues. If there is a Lindy Hopper in the world who has not danced to jump blues, I will smack myself in the forehead with a baseball bat. And the classic example is keep on churning. Wynonie Harris, Stephen Mitchell taught swing outs to that. So if you've ever taken a class with Stephen and Virginia, you've heard jump used for Lindy Hop. So here's a jump tune. It's T-Bone Walker, another Texas guy. We've talked about T-Bone before, I'm pretty sure.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
God, I hope so. If not, we need to get off our duffs.
If not, well, we'll come back and, he had an extensive career, so we'll come back to him. Anyway, Come Back to Me Baby Blues, T-Bone Walker.
The sun is shining, but it's raining in my heart. The sun is shining, but it's raining in my heart. My gal and I have drifted so far apart. Come back to me, baby, give me one more chance.
T-Bone is good stuff. That Keith and I were talking while we were listening to that, and kind of mentioning how that almost Western swing sound infiltrates the music, and that's the Texas talking to you. I mean, and
yes,
that's
sir.
Yeah, and that's
sir.
Great stuff. All right, last track we want to go over is something by we went back and forth. We actually changed this just a minute ago. We were going to do a different version of it, but we decided that why do a whole bunch of music in the middle of our show without at least mentioning Muddy Waters, because that just seems silly. So we're going to get you to hear Sugar Sweet.
I want to tell about my baby, speak of her with pride. She goes out the way just to make me satisfied. She's my baby, what a treat. Well, I can't call her sugar never was so sweet.
All right, primary focus on that Muddy song was the harmonica. Oh, Muddy had some of the best harp players in his band.
Well, what James Cotton,
Little Walter, Big Walter.
Was Junior Wells in there for a while?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, just all fantastic.
Yep.
I mean, that's just kind of a sample just across the little niches. I mean, we didn't get into a bunch of stuff. I mean, we could play. I mean, the Faster Dixieland. We could have gone through. Earlier we played the big band. We can sit here and go niche by niche and show you more. But I think we make the point. I mean, it's there. You can do different things to this music. As long as you go into the music, it makes sense, and it'll be fantastic.
And one of the things that will ultimately need to happen is that as a blues community, we'll have to move away from our hatred, and our hatred's the wrong word, but our discouraging of swing out in a blues context, because there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Like I said, we'll put the link to the video. It's from the Library of Congress in the show notes, and you can see it. So there are a lot of reasons why we're not playing faster blues. Some of them are really cop-outs, and some of them are legit. And while Jonathan and I know, DJs like Steven or Heather, have, and I use those names because they're friends of mine, and I've heard them play often enough to be able to say that. There are DJs who have no issue with playing faster blues, and a lot of us would dance to it, although we might swing out or we might halftime it. I certainly would, almost certainly would halftime. There's nothing wrong with swinging out to a tune like that bassy one if that's what the music says. So until we come back to that being acceptable, I don't think you're going to really see a predominance of up-tempo blues music at a specific blues event. I hope that gets what you were asking in our overly verbose, extremely wordy kind of way, Manu. So again, thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks, Manu. We did take that and turn it into a thing, but we felt like it was a good thing, so we ran with it.
That wraps us up for this month, actually.
We have next month. What did we discuss, Keith? What are we going to do next month? You said something.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe we'll just play, 16 tracks of Henry Red Allen. And
hey, I have that. Hey, we can do that.
We'll just call it a day. Or we could do Duke Ellington and Muddy Waters.
I think we're gonna have to expand there, sir.
All right.
I think, but I'll tell you what. I'll make you a deal. We'll both find something brand new to each of us, and we'll come back to the next show.
And keep it. Actually, you know what we'll do for next month? Since we'll be here in Austin for Blue Shout, and that's right around the middle of April. I'm gonna go around with my recorder, and we'll get you favorite blues songs. I'm making a promise, and we'll get it for you. Favorite blues songs from our DJs and instructors who are going to be here at Blue Shout. So you're some of the best and brightest in the blues world sharing with you what turns them on. So it's not just us for a month.
Some of the best and brightest and us. So
yeah, absolutely.
Oh wait, we do that all the time.
Yeah. That's my point. So we'll have. I don't know if we're going to be able to do anything more than just sit people down when they're not teaching class or DJing and get something. But hopefully we'll get you something good and something relevant, and we will see you guys. All right, I'm gonna say it straight up. We'll be at the end of April because with Blue Shout coming up, there's absolutely no way that we're gonna do anything in the middle of April.
No, you're gonna be lucky if you're not in a coma on the Monday after. So.
Yeah, it's true.
All right.
So,
thanks very much, everyone. We'll see y'all next month.
All right, take it easy.